Hello, I'm Camlem VR, and in today's video, we are going to be making a horror game. This is devlog number 1 of however many there is to come, and in this episode, I'm going to be making the hub area. So yeah, this is a voiceover, by the way. None of the audio in here was recorded because I didn't want it to be. So right now, what I'm doing is looking up pictures of a house because the hub area, I thought it would be cool if there was like a house with a little monster reaching over it. That was pretty much my idea. So right now, I'm scrolling through the pictures of houses and trying not to find the one that looks like too average. Like pretty much everybody would see this in their neighborhood. I was trying to find something that didn't look too expensive and didn't look too average. So I was scrolling through and then I found this house right here. This is the house that I did use. I didn't trade it. This is the house that I used for this tutorial. I mean, not tutorial, for this build, for this hub area. So right now I'm pointing at it because I'm realizing that I want this, and I'm currently looking at the pillars to see what I could do with the pillars. Unfortunately, I never built a garage because I didn't think I would need to. And I forgot to do a lot of these things, but it did come out good in the end. I will be sure to cut out some stuff to not bore you. So yeah, let's get right on with the devlog. Okay, so right here I have built a pillar. So this is pretty much like a rectangle. It's the start of the pillar. So I will look through the picture a few more times during these. And this picture came in real handy because I didn't have very much of an idea for a house. That's why I decided to use a picture. And I think I executed it pretty good. What I did was I didn't want to add too much details. I didn't want to spend too much time on doing the hub area. So I decided to add fog and like a ton of shaders and stuff so that you can't really see any of the details, but you can kind of see that they're there. So I didn't want to add the details. So pretty much the only thing here that's detailed is the pillars that I'm building right now. So you can see me going back through the picture multiple times. And just so I don't bore you, I'm just going to cut it up until the point where this first pillar is done. So yeah, let's go see what this pillar looked like. Right here was around the time I realized that I'm going to want to do shades, and I realized right here while I'm pointing is I'm going to copy it over pretty much 4 times to build the rest of the house. So right here I'm looking at it and I see that there's 4 pillars. So right here I counted the pillars to see how much there were. So there's 4. I don't know how I wasn't able to tell that immediately. So right now I'm pointing out where I'm going to put them. I pretty much didn't move this whole area. It pretty much stayed in the same spot. I just deleted the little maker room around me. So yeah, let's cut it to when I had the 4 pillars. Okay, so right here I placed my last pillar, and I looked at the picture of the house and realized that there was grass like sort of around the left pillar. So I decided I wanted to put that in to the end product. So I built like a little grass template thing for me and just copied it over a few times because you're far away from this. So yeah, I just made it, copied it over. So yeah, I just like made like a little grass platform, as you can see by the clip behind my voice. Right here was around the time where I finished it, and around the time when I realized that I don't have to put that much effort and that much time into something that you won't really be able to see. The most effort thing I had to put in was the pillars, because those are like the biggest things that you're going to be able to see besides the little thing standing over the building. And I put like a good 4 minutes into that, and it still looked good. So that just shows that you don't need to try super hard to build something good. That is, if you think this is good. I know Rec Room creators have gotten good, but this is just my hub area, so I didn't want to spend so much time on it. This clip before editing was an hour, so that's pretty much the max amount of time I wanted to spend on it. Right here, I'm deleting the area around me because I just finished the grass area. And then I'm going to finally start actually fixing the skybox and how bright it is. So right here is where I'm adding the fog. So if you want to see how to do all of this, then you can watch this little clip of what I did. You don't have to follow it like directly, but this is what I did, so I'm not going to cut this bit out just in case there's any people that want to follow this. If you don't want to follow it, just skip ahead a little bit. I'm sure you'll find it like really fast. So yeah. Right here is around the time where I started seeing if any like red lighting would work. Unfortunately, none of this was implemented into the build because I didn't really want to spend a ton of time on adding some outside stuff. So I just put a black box around the whole thing. I may change that later. I may not. I'm not sure. So right now, since I didn't really have like voice on, and I wasn't able to tell you what this is actually going to be. The map is called Home Sweet Horror. So pretty much what I'm planning on doing is you're laying in your bed, and randomly like windows start opening, and you have to close them. I got a ton of inspiration from a game I just recently beat, and have had for like ever, but haven't beaten it because I was always too scared. And then today I just decided to pick it up and play it. So the inspiration was Slenderman, one of the Slenderman games. It's the only one that's on Xbox. Slender the Arrival is what it's called. And one of the levels you have to like close all like the doors and windows and protect your house. So that's where I got my inspiration from. What the game is going to be is it's pretty much going to be a huge FNAF and Slenderman like I like inspired project. So what it's going to be is when you click the play button, you're going to get teleported to a new room, which is going to be a little bedroom, and there's going to be a little set of buttons right in front of you to click to start the game. There's going to be 4 hours, not like 4 hours of gameplay, but every hour it gets harder. But it's pretty much just going to be like Five Nights at Freddy's. Every 5 minutes is going to be the end of an hour. So yeah, that's pretty much what I was planning on doing. Right now, I'm messing with the skybox and the fog to try to get something that looks good. So right here is pretty much what I landed on. It looks kind of like this. I did switch it up a little bit, but it still did kind of look like this. So yeah, I'm going to cut it to when I finally started working on the house. So see you then. Okay, so right here I am looking at the house and I realize that there's little ledges and the staircase. So that is what I'm going to be working on next. Right here, this whole clip is just me working on the house and the monster. So none of this will be cut out because this is like good progress. And lucky for you, it didn't take me that long. If I duplicate something or redo something, I'll just cut to when that's over so I don't have to waste too much of your time. So yeah. Right now, I'm building it in black so that you can't really see it because my fade and my fog is in black. So black on black, it's a good combo if you're trying to like hide something. So I thought having a little bit of color for the pillars and then having like no color for the risers would look good. So that's what I did right here, as you can see. By the way, this is my first horror game that I'm planning on releasing, and I've never actually worked on a map that I planned on releasing, so this is the first one that I actually planned on releasing. Right now I'm backing up to see how far I want the person to be able to walk before there's an invisible barrier. So I did fix this in the end, and I also did not make this house 3D because you're just looking at it straight on. I made an invisible barrier so you can't see the sides of the map, so you can't see like the sides and that it's not 2D. So right here I just copied and pasted over the thing. I know I said I would like cut it out, but I'm talking because I'm telling you what the map's going to be like and what I plan on doing, and that is my first time building a map that I plan on releasing, let alone a horror map. So yeah, right now I'm building the staircase up to the door. Up until this point, I had forgot that there was a window in the door. I did realize this last second when I looked at the picture, so it was added, but it would have been nice to know that before I started working on this, because I really didn't want a house with a window in the door, because it's hard to put windows when you're doing a little skybox thing like I'm doing to try to make it like faded out. But I eventually did add it to the actual build, so it did look good, but not as good as I thought. For me, it looked like some sort of like memory of you thinking of the house. So right here was around the time when I realized how many windows there were. So I will cut to the point where the window and walls are done being made. So the windows and the walls. So let's go see what those look like. Right here is when I decided to go look back at the picture and realized that there was a window in the door. It didn't make me freak out as much as I exaggerated it to be, but in my head, I was pretty annoyed that there was a window there. It made it look more cartoony in the end build, but it still looked pretty good for a hub area. I don't think a hub area needs to be worked on that much, like how much other maps are worked on. So right here, I am working on the door. If you want to follow this like door tutorial thing, I guess, then that's how I built my door. If you just want to play the game, then keep up on the devlogs. If one release that's called like it's done or something, then you can go and actually play the game. But this is the first devlog, so unfortunately you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer because I do have to figure out the circuits for my plan. Pretty much the plan for the map is to like have random things happen. You have to stop it, just like the Slenderman game mode, where like you have to keep all your doors shut and not let it in. So right here is when I'm looking at the top area to see how I'm going to make it. So what I'm doing right now is turning on flight so I can go up. So don't try to fly in my map. You won't be able to, even though I set it to everyone can fly. This will be turned off in the end build. So I'll cut to the point where the roof is done, because I doubt you guys want to actually watch me build a roof. So let's go see that. And there we go. That is the house. I'm not 100% sure if this is the fully completed product because the windows in the in the roof aren't there. So those do need to be added. I don't remember if they're in the full build, but I'm hoping that I remembered to add the windows. Right now, I am realizing that I need to build my little monster. Like grabbing the roof with his hands. So I will completely leave in this part of me building his hands. As you can see, I did not spend that much time detailing him. I just made him big and scary looking on his face. Nothing is very detailed because I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'm just doing this in my free time, so I don't want to have this like a month project where I like have to work on it because people are counting on me to like finish this. No, that's not what I want. I want this to just be like a small little project that I do on the side. An episode won't come out every single day. Every like 2 to 3 days I will start working on this. Right here, I'm just copying over the hand that I just built, and surprising at it as it is, it came out looking pretty good even though it was just copied over. Right here is the point where I realize that the arms are going to be long and the neck is going to be weird looking because his body is going to be like massive and his arms are going to be like skinny, but I think it adds to the horror vibe. So right here you can see I'm building his neck. I didn't really have a good inspiration for this, but in my head I had like a picture of SCP-096. I'll throw a picture of that on the screen right now. And the beneath the light bulb monster is another thing I had in my head. So picture of that right here. So I pretty much just mixed those together, added a tongue, and it looked pretty cool. Right here, I'm just building a little face. Even though it's a circle, it still comes out to look pretty good because I fill it in, add texture. So right here, it starts like forming. As you can see, I have to fill in this little area because you can still see that. So I just decided to fill in the whole thing because I don't want any risk of you realizing that this isn't 3D unless you watch my devlog. So right here, you can see that he's like grabbing the house, and I thought that that looked pretty cool. So I kept that how it was. And right here I got neon so I can make his eyes shine like bright. I was having a little bit trouble since the tubes were like connecting to each other, and because it like came out so much, I tried to undo it and it just completely removed the face, so I just redid it. And this came out to be, I'm pretty glad that I like made this mistake because it actually looked pretty good for the eyes. Right here I'm just rotating the eyes to make it look pretty good. So right here is when I realized that that little mistake I just made could be like an eyelid sort of thing, because this thing is going to be the main center of attention. The house you'd think would be the main center of attention, but the monster in a horror game I think would be the one thing that you do want to be the main center of attention. In Five Nights at Freddy's, you'd think the office would be the main center of attention in the hub area or the loading screen area, but it's just a picture of Freddy. It's always just an animatronic. In Security Breach, it was the actual Pizzaplex, so that's got changed. I have no idea how this led into FNAF, but yeah. Okay, so right here, I'm realizing that his face looks a little bit bland, so I am extending his mouth. This is where Beneath the Light Bulb and SCP-096 mixed. So this is the giant jaw that the Beneath the Light Bulb guy and SCP-096 has, so I decided to implement it into the main build. So right here, it looks a little bit weird because it's like floating in the air, sort of, but it looks good from the hub area, so that's all that matters. Right here, I decided to add my own little twist on the mix so that it's not obvious that that's where I got my like inspiration from, and it's like not like a recolor. So right here is where I tried to make like a tongue, and it didn't turn out very well the first time, so I just undid it, like as you can see right here. And I decided to build it away so I can get a better idea of what it will look like. I decided to make it curve, and I liked that. So then I added a little bit of texture and width to it so that it's not just like super like tiny for this big little guy. So there we go. That was the tongue. I realized I had to select all of them to move it, and was lucky enough that it didn't split off into like a million pieces. So I had to find a good angle, and right there was the tongue. And from the area where I was thinking, I realized that he's not going to look very like bright, you will barely be able to see him. So I got a little spotlight and put it above his head. And later on, I realized that this was not very good working because it only lit up his face. So later on, I did fix this. So yeah, I later worked on the terrain, and since I highly doubt any of you guys care how long or like what it took for me to build that, I will cut to the point where I had finished building the terrain. So yeah, I'll see you there. Okay, so right here, I had finished the terrain. I used the Rec Room implemented terrain because I didn't bother with making it myself. Making terrain has never been my strong suit. Right here, I wanted to extend the whole build out a little bit to make it look kind of 3D instead of like a little like front viewing box kind of like cardboard thing. So that's what I tried to do. I tried to scale it over, and it just made the house bigger. So the house got a little bit bigger from this. And then I tried to manipulate it, and it was just clicking on one thing. Because I did forget to merge the shapes, I think was the problem. And the trees that I have here did get moved around a little bit in the final product because they were in the way of the welcome mat where you spawn. Right here is when I decided I want to add the box because the terrain was taking up a lot of ink. So I just built a little box. The roof was kept open because I wanted a little bit of skylight to be like go in. But I'm just now realizing how stupid that was because there's no light in this map. So yeah, I'm building my little box, and I will cut to the point where this box is done being built. Okay, so right here, the box is done being built, and I realized that there was like a lot of holes in the floor, so I just copied over the terrain and covered up as many as I could without wasting too much ink. And right here, you can realize very easily that that tree that I just walked through can get in the way very, very fast. So it does get moved, and I realized that the skylight was not very good, and I also realized that the house has to be pretty far back for you to not realize how it is. So right here is when I realized that the fog actually wasn't on, and it made me kind of feel stupid, and also made me realize that I did need to tweak it a little bit, but I didn't want to make the monster completely invisible up until the point where you walk up. I wanted you to be able to see it. So I did make the fog distance not too far. So right here, I am changing it up. And then I'm going to activate the fog. So I'm going to cut to the point where I found the good settings and activated it. There we go. The fog was turned on, and the map really started to piece itself together. This right here was around the point where I decided I needed the invisible barrier around the map. So this was a pretty tedious process because I tried to find a good way to do it, and I also realized I needed to fix the house. It wasn't very centered in the middle, so I'll cut to the point where both of those problems were solved. And there we go. Right here is the point where I realized it was looking a little bit bland, and I needed to add text. So right here is where I implemented the map name Home Sweet Horror, because usually people say Home Sweet Home. So I just did my own little twist on it and did Home Sweet Horror because it's still H-O-H, which I thought lined up and would be cool because Home Sweet Home is still H-O-H and Home Sweet Horror is still H-O-H. So if you want to like call this game something shorter, instead of calling it Home Sweet Horror, it would be H-O-H. So right here, I wrote the word home. I decided I didn't want to use text box when writing the actual game name because I thought it would be cool if I wrote it in my own handwriting. So here, right here's the S. I decided to make the writing look a little bit cool. So right here, I was thinking, and then I made that little line on the T, which came out to look pretty cool, and I liked it. So every time I dropped the maker pen, it was because I wanted the text to be individual boxes instead of different. Connected, because I wanted to be able to move the text when I wanted to, just like this example right here. So I moved the text up a little bit. You may think this is a little bit too high, but it actually came out to be a pretty good height. So right here, I am changing the color to red to write horror. I did the H pretty much the same as I did in home because, like I said, it's still the same letters, H-O-H. I am just now realizing how close that is to another thing, but it's fine. Okay, so right here is the text, Home Sweet Horror, and this is around the time where I realized it wasn't centered, and this tree had to be moved. It had to go. Right here, it was set up perfectly, but this tree, it just had to go. There was no use for it. The tree had to go, okay? The tree needed to be moved. It didn't get completely removed, but I might name this tree. I might give him eyes or something, but this tree definitely had to be moved. Right here, I was trying to see if I could make it a little bit darker on the neon font. I still don't know if there was a way. If there is a way, please tell me. And by the way, if you're still watching this, I want you to comment down "sweet" in the comments. So make sure to comment that if you're still here. If you decide you don't want to, that's okay. I'm not going to blame you. Literally nobody has been commenting. So yeah. Right here is when I added the text box to put the play option, because don't want to make the writing because it was a little bit big, and I know I could make it smaller, but I really didn't want to. So I decided to stick with the text box, give it a little bit of a slant, curve, whatever you want to call it, and made it white, made it put play question mark, and the actual game isn't going to be put into the hub area. It's going to be a different room, because that room itself is going to take up a ton of ink. So hopefully I will have enough ink to do that in a subroom. Right here is when I put the text play question mark, and I thought I could add a how to play. I thought like message meant like under it, so I put how to play in case I wanted to add that, but I don't think I'm going to. Right here is when I realized that the text was a little bit too dark, so I needed to make it white neon, just like home and sweet. I thought about doing red, but I just scrolled down and clicked on a good white. Right here, I'm changing the material to neon, and right here is pretty much the end of the build. Pretty much nothing gets added right here except for the welcome mat, and that tree gets moved. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little devlog. Like and subscribe if you want to, and drop a comment if you want to see more episodes of this, or if you like series like this. So I will leave this playing so you guys can see what else I did, but from now on I will not talk. So yeah, I'll see you guys if you decide to tune in another episode of Camlam VR's devlogs. See you then.